Hello, everybody. I'm back with the next TV show spoiler review, and something I've been want to dive back into for the longest time: Batman the Animated Series. Now, I'm already gonna go through at least a few Batman-related shows because I want to start off with the animated series because it's obviously a classic for a reason and set the tone for many Batman interpretations in the future. Because, in my opinion, this is peak Batman. I made before we continue, please like and subscribe. Follow me in the links in the description below. Smash that like button if you enjoy the content that I've been putting out. A lot of you guys been really digging my videos as of late, so thank you all for that. A long while ago, I made a video about when James Gunn bring in Batman into the mainline DC universe, not the Elseworld stuff with Robert Pattinson. I made a video talking about like what because I got kind of annoyed with this whole gritty, realistic, down to earth Batman kind of thing, and I think that's been done to death. Not that Batman doesn't fit that mold, but he lives in a world of superheroes, and I think we've gotten past to the point where we're okay for the fantastical. Batman has gone through some fantastical things that goes beyond than stopping crime bosses at this point. And I cited Batman animated series in combination with the Arkham video games because they're kind of coincide with each other in a way, because even down to some of the voice actors being involved in the games. And that is what I think people have in mind when they think of like the perfect Batman, is where he has all the gadgets, he has all the resources, he has the super friends, he has the skills, and just like unlike Nolan, where his Batman wants to retire or or just like reluctant to, like, unlike, I love Matt Reeves' Batman a lot. It's really great, but he's in that era of, I don't want to be Bruce Wayne, he's useless, I want to focus on being Batman and stopping bad guys. And it's like, okay, can we get just a prime Batman who does want to retire and doesn't hate the fact that he has to do Bruce Wayne stuff from time to time? And I think Bruce Timm and Paul Dini's Batman is the prime Batman that is just in this thing. And he does it, he's good at it, and he sees it as his mission until he just can't do anymore, and then Terry McGinnis eventually takes over. I think that is just like a natural progression. I think a lot of Batman fans would get on board for, and just embrace the say what you will about like Schumacher's Batman. You can embrace the campiness sometimes, and matter of fact, aside from Tim Burton's Batman and Joel Schumacher's Batman, if you merge them together, you kind of got like the Batman that we know, because you got the fantastical. There's some campiness from time to time, but is gritty too. But you don't shy away from things like Clayface or Man-Bat that is kind of out there. And you get to tangle with like, Mad Hatter or Joker or Riddler, who are kind of just human beings. But he deals with like, sometimes crazy robots like Failsafe, or if you remember the Batman show, which I will review down the line as well, with that robot called Dave, if you remember that. Or when he fought Dracula, I did like a Batman versus Dracula movie review last October, and it's like sometimes he deals with the mystical too. He's friends with Zatanna, and it's like it's okay. Batman is so adaptable. He can fit in, like he's one of the handful of superheroes can fit in almost any mold. And that's why I think Bruce Timm and Paul Dini make just like the perfect Batman. Just the world itself, and even going beyond that into like the Justice League animated series and Superman animated series. Man, if from the jump when they started making this shared DC universe years ago, I said to many friends, they could have just the Bruce Timm verse. They laid the groundwork. The Batman, Superman, and Justice League animated series. Hell, BVS could have just done what we got from World's Finest and just, you don't have to copy, but you got the inspiration. The cartoon's done half the work for you, and just take it and put it in live action. And I don't know. But that being said, even many of the Batman movies took inspiration from this show, like the Scarecrow episode, Nothing to Fear, which has a lot of references, or at least the Batman Begins took a lot of inspirations from this episode. But the show also gave us the most iconic line delivery from the great Kevin Conroy.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman!
And you get like the impressive Mark Hamill, who to this day is the best Joker of all time. Honestly, the best Joker laugh of all time. Like, there's others who've done great work, but he just took it to a degree where you can't possibly reach that high of that caliber. Anyway, getting into the first season itself, which was like 65 episodes, which, by the way, some were out of order because like I watched it on HBO Max, and some stuff were kind of out of order from what you probably would have seen if you had the DVD box set. But the art itself, Batman lends itself. I almost refuse to watch or read anything Batman if it's not at night. It feels naked and feels weird if I don't do it. It's just me personally, but I've been just indulging in Batman stuff always at nighttime. Because no light, nothing just kind of takes me out of the game. I want to just sit and just watch some Batman at nighttime. But, we've got, like I said, Bruce Timm and Paul Dini, who worked on a lot of episodes, writing and directing. Also, Mitch Bryan. Danny Elfman does many of the composing, which you can tell because he also done some composing for Tim Burton's Batman films as well. As well as Shirley Walker, who done many of the composing as well. Harvey Cohen and Lolita Jimenez, Michael McCustian, Stuart Balcom, Richard Bronskill, Carl Johnson, Christopher Carter, Carlos Rodriguez, Wayne Coster. All of them should be proud of what they done. It's just like, and they also worked on, like besides Justice League and Batman and Superman TV shows, but also Batman Beyond. It's just like stellar work. And that's what I'm saying. Like, man, it's like, how can it should be virtually impossible for them to butcher any anything when they try to start Zack Snyder, the Snyderverse or whatever, when they try to start it with Man of Steel. How can you butcher this when you got like a good layout, a blueprint to go off of from the jump? And it's like, I seen the recent images of the new Superman actor Coin Sweet in the Superman costume. It looks cool. Uh, uh, and not too thrilled with the whole armor. I don't want to say armor, but it's like the padding and like the certain lines on the suit is kind of like, I don't know why. It's like you gotta stop with this whole armoring up Superman's outfit or trying to make it crazy design wise. Just make it like a basic Christopher Reeve suit and be done with it. It's like, it's not broke, don't fix it. Anyway, so we got Kevin Conroy, who voices not just Batman and Bruce Wayne, but many other side characters, along with Mark Hamill, who voiced not just Joker, but also Francis Boyle, the person who was responsible for creating Mr. Freeze. Lauren Lester is Dick Grayson Robin, my favorite Robin of all time. We got Ephraim Zimbalist Jr., who voiced Alfred Pennyworth for the most part, but at first it was Clive Reveal in the first 3 episodes before he passed away, so they had to change him up. Which Clive did, like, I have really no issues, but somehow, for some reason, Ephraim, maybe because he had the longer lasting opportunity with the role, I don't know. Clive seems kind of, his voice kind of seemed too deep for Alfred. And Alfred seems like has like a proper pitch. My will soul. And it's kind of like that with Clive. And it's like, couldn't get really into it. But Alfred just had like the right cadence for Alfred. And it's like, yeah, that is Alfred's voice. Bob Hastings as Commissioner Gordon. Robert Costanzo as Harvey Bullock. Which is kind of weird. We don't get much Harvey Bullock in other Batman iterations. It's kind of wild. He pops up from time to time in the comics, but not enough. He should be like a mainstay type of supporting character in the comics at this point, long since this point. Because if Montoya, who got in like a bump in popularity after a certain point, like around New 52 era in the mid 2000s, where she took up the role as the second Question, and from time to time she takes up that mantle when she's not also being, I think she currently right now is the commissioner of Gotham in current comics right now. So she got like a bump in popularity over the years, but Harvey Bullock only pops up from time to time, which is kind of wild to me personally. I think he makes a great addition to the Batman ethos. So we got Ingrid Ilu as Officer Renee Montoya for just season 1. Lane Schumer, who does Montoya in season 2. Brock Peters as Lucius Fox, which is kind of feels awkward because growing up, well, I remember as a kid watching Batman the Animated Series, but outside of this, my mind, Lucius Fox always known from the jump that Bruce Wayne is Batman and always helped out with his gear and everything like that. And it's just like, this is probably the only iteration that I could think of where that was not the case. Marie Devon as Summer Gleason, which weird that I know it's Bruce Timm's thing, but in the mainline comics, it's kind of weird that the iconic supporting characters that we know, rarely, if ever, is seen in the comics, in like the mainline comics, not like just a reinterpretation of the show in comic format. I don't know. It just feels like, come on, these guys are iconic characters for a reason. Great supporting cast, top notch all across the board, honestly. Melissa Gilbert as Barbara Gordon, Batgirl. Diana Mulder as Dr. Leslie Tompkins. Lloyd Bushneer as Mayor Hamilton Hill. Nicole Kidman as Dr. Chase Meridian. Oh, what? Wait, what are you talking about? Like, supporting roles? It's got to be some kind of weird thing. I'm looking on Wikipedia. That's not a thing. Unless my brain is like giving me a Mandela effect or something right now. But Dr. Chase Meridian, which, by the way, a few years ago, I kid you not, in the mainline Batman comics, just like in the first arc of a story, I was reading as Batman was solving some kind of clue to some kind of crime that happened, and there's like a new Arkham hospital trying to supposedly actually rehabilitate inmates instead of that revolving door of an asylum. They're trying to do something new with it. I think it's leading up to this kind of like Scarecrow kind of plot where he's trying to take over the city kind of thing, whatever. Dr. Chase Meridian heading this hospital. And I'm thinking to myself, of all the Batman people from the movies you could have brought into the comics, you brought the one that was pretty much harassing this dude. Let's be honest, she was kind of like, getting way too close, like overstepping her boundaries, touching him without his permission. Like, honestly, if you roles were reversed, that'd be creepy as heck. And I can't help but think that Dr. Chase was, not keeping her hands to herself. And it's like, dude, like, he's not feeling it like that or whatever. He was feeling it, but it's not like he wasn't feeling it. But it's kind of like you look back on it and it's like, God, she is like all over the place. And it's kind of like, I can't imagine that Batman was feeling comfortable with her just grabbing on him just like without his permission. This is kind of wild. William Sanderson as Carl Rawson. Bill McKinney as Jonah Hex. There will be a later season, probably in the third season. And of course, you got Adam West as a cameo as the Grey Ghost, which is really fun. Like I said, Mark Hamill as the Joker. And they went with the actual name from the Tim Burton movie, Jack Napier, which I think if Joker was going to have like an origin story, just go with the one where he fell in the thing of acid, like, the Tim Burton kind of set the tone, and I think we all just accepted that, and that is a thing, so that's fine. Arlene Sorkin, the late great Arlene Sorkin, as Harleen Quinzel, Harley Quinn, which I kid you not, talk about Mandela effect. I always thought it was just her normal name, Harley Quinn, or just her first name is Harley Quinzel, and I thought the whole Harleen part only was in, came about in the Injustice game. But somebody had to, bring it up to me and show me like, no, Harleen was her actual name. Has always been a thing. It wasn't just the Injustice thing. And it's like, oh, okay. So like, thank you for the information. Cause like, I honestly just thought her first name was actually just Harley. Paul Williams as Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin, which Danny DeVito Penguin took inspiration. But I like this interpretation of Penguin more so than any other interpretation of Penguin outside of Danny DeVito. I love Danny DeVito's interpretation of Penguin. He's my favorite one. Maybe I'm biased because Tim Burton's my favorite director and he made incredible Batman films. it's just like, I don't know. I like that version of the Penguin, and Danny DeVito was just right for that role. It's like I can't. I mean, of course, you got the Gotham TV series, and I like that actor who played Penguin in some cases, but not to the same degree as Danny DeVito or this in the TV show. Oh well, I do like Oswald Cobblepot in the Batman show. He's pretty fire too, but beyond that, I don't think. I mean, like, because the Harley Quinn show, that version of Penguin, not really my favorite. Uh, but yeah, like I said, like Tim Burton animated series and the Batman best Penguin interpretations. Uh, Adrian Barbeau as Selena Kyle, Catwoman, Richard Mole as Harvey Dent, Two Face, which he does an incredible acting with, the different personalities of Harvey, and it's just the subtleness of it. And the same thing with uh, uh, Kevin Conroy, where it's kind of, it always puts me off a bit, kind of creeps me out for some reason, where he's in his Batman, outfit in the cave, and he gets a call from, Lucius Fox or somebody, and he has, he's just like a light switch. It's like, who is it, Alfred? It's Commissioner Gordon, sir. Put him on. Hey, like, hey, Commissioner Gordon, how you doing? It's just like, don't ever do that again if you're not out of costume. That is so weird. It gives me weird vibes. It's kind of like one of those rare times where like Batman literally creeps me out if he does something like that, or if he laughs, because Batman rarely, if ever, laughs. In costume, barely even cracks his, like, you see him crack a smile every once in a while, but when he just laughs hysterically, and I don't know, it's just kind of weird. Yeah, this, Batman's cool and all, but you tend to forget that he probably is a little crazy. You tend to forget that he just knows how to manage it, in an expert way. Got Diane Pershing as Pamela Isley, Poison Ivy. Henry Pollock II as Dr. Jonathan Crane, Scarecrow, which, by the way, they went through at least 3 interpretations of the Scarecrow costume. And from what you hear from Paul Dini and Bruce Timm is that they couldn't really settle on a proper look of the Scarecrow until they got to the point of the new animated series in the 3rd season. And it's like, yeah, I like it, but the second time we see the Scarecrow, well, at least the second or third time we see the Scarecrow, I think that was my favorite look of the Scarecrow. The last one is not too bad. The first one's probably the weakest, in my opinion. John Glover as Edward Nygma, the Riddler. Thanks to John Glover and Jim Carrey, they really made the Riddler my favorite villain of all time in comics. I love the Riddler. He's an amazing character, and I really wish they give him more, people really want to use him because they're like, it's too hard to come up with riddles. But the video game had no problem just making him like a jigsaw thing. You give him a few riddles here and there, but primarily it's the puzzles. And you can't figure out how to work a good puzzle, because that's part of the fun of the Riddler. And just a little inside tip, not in the recent C2E2 that I went to, but the last year's one, when I went to go to use the bathroom, right as I was entering, I see John Glover walking out. He was like, dude, don't you got a private bathroom? You're an actor. Why are you coming here with the public and aren't you worried about being mobbed? But I didn't say anything. I couldn't say anything. And I was too awestruck. And he's tall. He gotta be at least 6'1" 5'1" or 5'2" or something like that. He's definitely taller than me. I'm like 5'11", and it's like I was just awestruck, like, oh my god, it's John Glover. It's like, cause I didn't first think of the Riddler. What I was thinking of is Lionel Luthor. and the John Glover, God bless him, he loves playing DC characters, honestly. But I think primarily he'll be remembered as Lionel Luthor, the Riddler, uh, uh, as like the biggest ones. And it's like, oh my god, it's Lionel Luthor. And it's like, I shared a bathroom with with Lex Luthor's dad, man. Oh my god. And it's like, clearly he was wearing like those face masks because it was still, because a lot of the actors when they go to these cons they gotta protect themselves. I was like, but you can clearly tell it's him because he had a very distinct face. And I was like, oh my god, oh my god. And it's like I got so like, cause like John Glover, oh my god. And it's like him and Jim Carrey made the Riddler like just my favorite character because I love their interpretations of the Riddler, best ever. I just wish they, in the comics they give the Riddler more love. Anyway, we got the late David Warner as Ra's al Ghul, who I didn't know until years later. If you remember the Ninja Turtles Secret of the Ooze movie, he was the scientist from TGRI. I can't really even remember that, abbreviation. That was the same dude. It's like it took me years before I even knew that was the same person. Which, by the way, I really want to rewatch the first two proper Ninja Turtles movie live action films. Honestly, got Michael Anasera as Dr. Victor Freeze, or Victor Fries, aka Mr. Freeze. And honestly, this dude must have went to Juilliard or something like that because the first episode, Heart of Ice, won an Emmy, I think. I mean, it was for the entire show, but primarily they looked at Heart of Ice because it was so well written. The animation, almost as a whole, I wouldn't say all the way because it's like there's a few episodes that kind of puts me off because certain episodes where they kind of, the characters move kind of rubbery, in my opinion. It kind of takes me out. But by and large, the animation is so on point, especially Heart of Ice, where it's like so beautifully written. And it's like these trained actors who went to these high prestigious schools, more than likely, because the way the lines are delivered, and they, and they carry those words. And especially when it comes to Michael and Sarah, who just delivered these lines, is so poetic with as Mr. Freeze, and he got the a lot of them got like a sad little troubled episodes, but Mr. Freeze and Harvey Two-Face is like the two biggest ones that you feel so sorry for. And then we got Ron Perlman. Oh god, he's amazing. It's like as Matt Hagen, Clayface, and every time we see Clayface in anything, it has to be Matt Hagen. I'm sorry. I know there's two other guys who did the whole did the whole Clayface mantle thing, but I think Matt Hagen was the one that people gravitated to. And if you do a live action Clayface, if it isn't somebody like those I'm forgetting the actor's name, but those type of actors that really deep dives into their role in that's like, don't call me nothing else but this but this character's name. I need to be invested into this character. I need to be this character. Those type of actors, unless you get one of those type of actors, I can't see nobody else but Ron Perlman playing, or at least voicing Clayface. Aaron Kincaid as Waylon Jones, Killer Croc. My personal opinion, this interpretation of Killer Croc is not my favorite. I think my favorite interpretation of Killer Croc is either in the video game, the Arkham video games, or the Batman show, where he's kind of like a Cajun guy. from the bayou kind of attitude. And I was like, I think that is like a good, and that's my personal opinion. I think like that is like a very unique take on Killer Croc. It's like, yeah, you make it from the bayou kind of accent with all those crocs out there in the swamps and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, I can buy that. And it's like, dang. But that's just me personally. I got Roddy McDowell as Jervis Tetz, the Mad Hatter, another very tragic dude. I won't get to like certain episodes, not every episode in season 1, but I go through as much of the ones that I like and bring up the ones that I did not like as I can. I'm going to try to zip through them, not crazy fast, but I'm not going to spend too long on every one. Joris Denzanda as Arnold Wesker, the ventriloquist, and Scarface, which they could easily do like a live action Scarface, Arnold Wesker in like a Batman movie very easily. I'm surprised nobody ever went with something like that. You can lean into scariness with all those killer dolls out there like Megan or Chucky. You can make Scarface very scary. Mark Singer as Dr. Robert Kirkland, Langstrom as Man-Bat, and Henry Silva as Bane. The other supporting antagonists, I got Ed Asner as Roland Daggett, Jeff Bennett as Hardak, Ray Buctanica as Hugo Strange, Michael Gross as Lord Ventrix, Robert Ito as Kyodai Ken, Alison LaPleca as Mary Louise Doll as Baby Doll, and that'll be in the last season. Joseph Meyer as Dr. Emily Dorian, Kate Mulgrew as Red Claw, Alan Rickens as Temple Fugit, the Clock King, which is the best Clock King. I don't care for the goofy version with the actual clock for her face. John Vernon as Rupert Thorne, Steve Suskin as Maximilian Zeus, which was fun. It's a fun episode. I love that episode. But honestly, with Batman knowing Wonder Woman, who personally knows Zeus, I'm surprised there was no, because this dude is kind of psycho. I say psycho, but he got a delusion, pretty much, of grandeur. And it's like, I'm not sure how it will affect him, but it probably there's at least a small chance to snap him out of it if he actually, like Bruce calls up, hey, Diana, do you mind if I, like obviously not Zeus wouldn't be able to be bothered with something like this, but just humor me. It's like, hey, do you mind if I bring this guy, one of my bad guys, to meet Zeus, or at least not personally, but like through like a magical mirror or something like that, so he can, because he thinks he's actually Zeus. I just need him to like understand something, and then like, here, Maximilian, look at this. This is Wonder Woman. She got to show you something, and this is Zeus. You're not Zeus. This is Zeus. We know Zeus. He actually is real. You're a human being. Get over yourself. Get some help, and that'll be done. Of course, at this point in time, Bruce hasn't met like the other members of the Justice League at this point, but I'm just saying. Bruce Weitz as Lockup, Lyle Bolton, and Treat Williams as Professor Achilles Milo, and Michael York as Count Averno Vertigo. Which, by the way, it's like, this dude's supposed to be a Green Arrow villain. I'm not sure he's showing up for like a Batman thing. But I guess he's used to set up the League of Assassins or Shadows. Excuse me. Sorry, it's hot as balls here. Okay, so honestly, it'd probably be easy to just go through all the episodes I did not like in season 1, but let's try to get through most of these. You got on leather rings, with which some people will find it as the first episode, but others might get like the first appearance of Catwoman with Red Claw as the adversary in uh what was that one? The Cat and the Claw. That's what I got on HBO Max. That was the first two-parter that I got. But in most cases, the first two-parter of season one will be like the Two-Face two-parter, which makes a lot more sense. But anyway, we got on leather wings, where Batman, and like people like Batman is still kind of mysterious. Which, by the way, before I get into it, I like this, where you just, in the thick of it, because we get little bits and pieces on how Batman learned his skills that will ultimately lead him to becoming like the Batman that we know, like learning escapology from Satana's father, Zatara, or learning, martial arts from Kyodai's master in Japan. Things like that nature. So I like that we get bits and pieces in the middle of the show, but for the large part, like when we get into the show, he's already been Batman for at least quite a bit. He's like, let's say year 2, year 3 in, where he's pretty much like made connections with Jim Gordon, who's commissioner. So he's already set up. We don't have to go through the rigmarole of him dealing with like the mob and getting him out, pushing him out and trying to bond with friendship with Jim Gordon. We don't have to go through all that rigmarole. He's like, he's in it. He's Batman. He got his cave set up. He got all this tech that he needs. He's like, he got like a decent relationship, in his normal life as Bruce Wayne. He's established. He does his little charity works because he understands, like, I need Bruce Wayne, to be out in public and, hodgepodge, like bump elbows with the rich, even though I'm pretending because but I got business. I have it, to, with work, so I could continue my charities and things of that nature, because people count on Bruce Wayne to help, the city really move and everything like that with all my good works. Got all that out the way, so that we don't have to, go through all that. I don't want to be Bruce Wayne no more. Like I always want to concentrate. Like, no, you need both Batman and Bruce Wayne. Done. Going to go through all that crap. So, there's been sightings of this bat creature that's flying around, and they really utilize, the blimps in these things, because Gotham City was like full of blimps. Even in the comics, they established as blimps a lot there, which is fine. I don't know. We just gotten used to blimps, in Gotham City thanks to this show. But the first, which is kind of funny, one of the first voices that we hear in the first episode is Kevin Conroy's voice, but not as Batman, because he doesn't show up until like a little bit later into the episode. But one of the pilots of these blimps was Kevin Conroy's voice. So he is, like, he was the first one, and it's probably going to be the last voice we hear from out this entire show. So I think it's kind of like a fun happenstance. Anyway, so the sightings of these bat creature, people was kind of freaking out because most people still don't trust this, Batman character. They don't know what he's like, which is kind of ironic because there was an episode where Batman kind of losing faith of what he does as a hero of Gotham, and now it's like they treat me like I'm a like a sideshow. I'm a gimmick now. I'm not like scary or intimidating. People like use me as like a tourist attraction kind of thing, and it's like it's kind of like a nice arc in of his own. Whereas like, yeah, people didn't know you, they was afraid of you, they didn't know what to make of you. But after a certain period, now they gotten used to you and see you as the local hero, and just gotten used to your mysterious little sightings and stuff. Like, oh yeah, this is Batman. Because people will eventually adapt. They just eventually get used to it. I imagine it's the same way with like Superman and Metropolis. Eventually, at first they people like freak out, like, oh my god, a guy is flying or whatever. But after a year, people's like, oh yeah, that's just Superman. And it's kind of like Californians are used to earthquakes, while people who are from other places kind of get shook up a bit. It's like freak out because they're not used to tectonic plates shifting. Uh, I attribute that to the same level, same degree, where it's like, oh, that's just Batman. People's for like from Star City or something like that. Oh my god, I think I saw some kind of shadowy figure just jumping up on the rooftop, and some locals like, oh, that's just Batman. You must be not from around here. That's just Batman. Don't worry about it. He's harmless, unless you do some crimes. And then he'll come after you. But like, as long as you stay on the straight and narrow, he'll leave you alone. That kind of thing. Anyway, so this bat creature turns out to be Man Bat. It's stealing all these little gizmos. With his trying to experiment on these bat creatures, which ends up him turning into a bat. And of course, Bruce is like, I like in the show where you see Batman's compassion to a lot of adversaries isn't just all beat him up, because like I said, this is the peak Batman. It's like a right balance between like him doing his duty as as the superhero to stop these bad guys and lock them up and things like that, but he also is compassionate. Some of the villains going through something, or it wasn't their fault, and like Langstrom, he ended up experimenting on stuff but did not realize what he'll turn into. So I can't fault him and put him in jail for something like he had no control over. So he ended up finding a cure and curing him. But that was a great one. And in case you're wondering, is based on a comic book, the first appearance of Man Bat, Challenge of the Man Bat, in Detective Comics 400, June 1970, and Man or Bat in Detective Comics number 402 in August of 1970 by Frank Robbins, just so you know. And you got Christmas with the Joker, which is a great holiday special. Honestly, I remember as a kid to this day. And the first time I actually heard the song, Jingle Bells, Batman Smells, Robin laid an egg. And of course, with Mark Hamill singing it, it's very fun. Man. And just, it's one of the silliest episodes, but it's just like a fun, every once in a while you get one of those kind of fun episodes where it's not too serious, and it's just like a simple, capture the Joker after he kidnaps Summer Gleason, Gordon, and Bullock, and put them in these ridiculous costumes like the Awful Lawful family. And but it's also the main thing is Dick trying to get Bruce to like take a night off for Christmas for once. And he's like, just stay home. Let's watch It's a Wonderful Life, which is kind of like run parallels to like, about how one man can change a city kind of thing. And Bruce comments how he never actually watched the film because he can never get through the credits, probably because it's such a long film, he had to stop to go do Batman stuff. So he never really sat through the entire film. But because Robin's trying to tell him, it's like, look, is it that hard to believe that one time out of the year people are a little bit more nicer to each other, so it'd be less for us to do for at least this one time? And So he still wants to go on patrol and things like that. But then, right as they're trying to watch the film, Joker has a scheme and calling out Batman to come rescue his friends. They go stop, you know, a train collision or attempted train collision by the Joker, and save everybody on board, and then go to go save their the cops, and it leads into one of my favorite moments that still stuck with me out of all these years, where it'd be kind of funny that Joker did all this stuff because he's so crazy, but he's also so into like Batman, obsessed with Batman, where he escaped Arkham, committed all these kind of crimes, and just to give him a freaking gift, and everybody's freaking out. It's like, oh my god, and Brown like, don't open it, and he opens the box, and it's just like a contraption that caused like a pie to go into Bruce's Batman's face, and Joker's laughing, hysterically. And honestly, they did, after all these years, it still gives me a laugh, and it's like all this pie in the face. It's like, oh, I can't stand it. It's like, oh my god, that's still, to this day, it's still stuck with me. That was like, honestly, I really love that moment. But of course, Batman ended up stopping the Joker and save everybody, and he can finally sit down, enjoy It's a Wonderful Life with Alfred and Dick Grayson. And of course, you got like Nothing to Fear with the Scarecrow, and you get the iconic line. But the main thing with first encountering the Scarecrow and the fear toxin caused him to experience his greatest fear, where it's like disappointing his father. No thanks to some weird, one time only seen scientist who knew Bruce's dad, because he thinks the whole playboy persona of Bruce is bringing shame to the Wayne family name. And of course, Bruce kind of takes it to heart because he looks up to his father, and he doesn't know what his father would think of him using all his resources to do what he does. But of course, Alfred tries to assure him, like I knew your father better than anyone, and I know he'll be proud of you because I'm proud of you. But after trying to stop the Scarecrow, he ends up, because it shows his indomitable will, that he's like telling his hallucinations, no, you are not my father. And
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman!
And it's like, it's almost on the same degree as the Green Lantern oath, just to give you that kind of, boost in courage in a way. It's like something you say to yourself, like you really want to, if something's freaking you out, sorry, 1 second. Now you want to call. Sorry. Friends calling me. I was trying to reach them like long ago before I started this stream. Sorry. It's so warm. Yeah, I think this. I would open my window, but I don't want any bugs flying in here. But I think the cicadas are finally gone anyway. But anyway, Bruce ended up powering through this hallucination and stopping the Scarecrow, which is amazing. Like I said, the art is in here is amazing. The voice. I was gonna, say here now, the art for the most part is amazing. The acting top notch all across the board, and the character designs are for the most part stellar work. So that way I don't have to keep rehashing that same thing. Just think of it in each episode. That is kind of like the standard for the most part. Then you get the last laugh, where Joker lets out these laughing gas that kind of paralyze everybody with crazy laughter, while he and his cronies just rob everybody blind because they, won't do anything because they're too busy laughing. And Alfred eventually gets infected, so Bruce has to stop Joker. Which this is the episode where like the animation is kind of lackluster in my opinion, because everybody's moving around in like a rubbery fashion that I'm not saying it needs to be stiff, but everything else outside this episode is always, well, there's gonna be other moments here where you see that rubbery kind of movement, but for the most part everything seems to move seamlessly, except for episodes like a few episodes like this where it's like, God, I do not care for this type of movement, because it seems a little like, I don't know, it's like the A team was busy with other stuff, so they brought in like the C team. But you get like Captain Clown, and it's just like a robot that for the first time you actually see Bruce kind of go all out on something and destroys Captain Clown and stop Joker and neutralize the gas. Then you get the first introduction to Harvey. Well, the first introduction with Harvey Dent was the Man-Bat episode. But here you actually get a little bit more time with him, because they build up Harvey Dent in a natural arc very well. But he is dating Pamela Isley, who blames him for building like a new penitentiary on top of a land where these nearly extinct roses were. So she's been planning like a revenge thing where she has that little poison lipstick and everything like that. I think after this series, getting into something like the Batman and certain point in the comics, I don't know where the point of change happened, but eventually they decide, because here Poison Ivy is just a human being with because she's a what do you call those plant scientists, botanist. She's just like a botanist who nurtures these kind of crazy plants that does her bidding kind of thing. But after a while, she, just became like a, person with plant-based powers where she can control plants at will. And that's just kind of like a mainstay, which is fine, but it's kind of like a stark contrast from her humble beginnings. So now Harvey's in a coma, and Bruce figures out like, wow, this happened. Like the last time this happened was when the last interaction he had with Pamela. So he ends up finding out about her little scheme, and tricks her into giving up the antidote so he can give to Harvey to get him out of his coma. And then finally put a stop to Ivy. And we get the underdwellers, with homeless children living underneath the Gotham sewers. Like I said, that's one of the, with the whole sewer king. Like didn't, even as a kid, I hated this episode, and to this day, yeah, this sucks as an episode. So skipping over that, I do not like this episode. And also, I want to cut to the chase. I got Batman in My Basement is another episode that sucks. I do not like it. If you do, that's great for you, but for the large part, that is a terrible episode, honestly. We got POV, which is Montoya, this Officer Wilkes dude, and Harvey Bullock, telling Internal Affairs and Gordon about this whole botched operation with these smugglers trying to stop like a smuggling ring, and each one tell their own interpretation of how they view Batman. Like the Officer Wilkes, like he got these sparkly things that shoot out of his hand, and all of a sudden the guy that he was running away just goes down like a sack of potatoes. Like, wow, it was amazing, that kind of thing. But of course Bullock, who initially does not like Batman like that, uh, exaggerates the accounts like, oh, I gotta save his butt. It was Batman saving his butt. But the Eternal Affairs thinks like Montoya and the other three are, they should be suspended. They bossed the job, but then Montoya put two and two together with the clues that she got from her accounts of what in her moment of the accounts, and then she realized, oh, the smugglers have gone to the docks, so she goes and finds Batman strung up by these smugglers, and of course once he realized the ringleader of this group is showing up, it's like, oh, I don't have to pretend to be captured or helpless no more. So he breaks out, without a thing. So he and Montoya team up to stop the smugglers, and Gordon, so appreciative of his officers, going far and beyond of the line of duty to stop these guys, gives them back their badges and tell the Eternal Affairs dude to kick rocks. So that was a good episode. Not my favorite. It's fairly average. I enjoyed it, but it's still far better than like Underworlders or I Got Batman in My Basement kind of thing. Then you got The Forgotten, which is another lame episode in my opinion, where Batman gets amnesia. I hate amnesia stories. That's why I never care for this episode. But Batman was under the guise of, I don't know, Matches Malone, or just one of those little aliases, trying to get information from people about disappearing homeless people. He gets ambushed, gets amnesia, and gets put in like a chain gang, but his memories are slowly coming back, and memories of like Joker and his parents' death, all that stuff starts rolling back. All the while Alfred putting his time, where you get a little moment with Alfred trying to find Bruce, and he helped get Bruce and to help the homeless people and stop like this boss hog dude who's running this chain gang in this kind of mini camp. Another episode like I really did not care for, To Be a Clown, where you got Hamilton Hill's little son who feels neglected, and he's at his birthday party, and you see like Joker dressed up as like this goofy clown, which, by the way, anything clown related in Gotham City should have just been banned entirely, because it's like a hot spot for Joker to utilize as like a home base or whatever. Carnivals, circuses, clowns of any kind, all should not be trusted or just banned altogether, so that way people don't get tricked into being a Joker, another one of Joker's victims. I'm just saying. But Batman rescuing the kid, and you get the iconic gif that you see Batman with the thumbs up. Not the worst, but not the best. Then of course you get the Harvey Two-Face two-parter, where we learn about Harvey's split personality, Big Bad Harv. That as a kid he has like anger issues, and I'm glad we get to see an episode where like we actually see like one of, before he became like an actual villain, that you see one of these characters actually go to get some therapy. And now here's the thing, and from what I watch from like Cinema Therapy with the therapist on that YouTube show, and other psychologists and therapists from who do reaction videos and stuff like that about characters with DID, uh, they mentioned that people with DID, we don't, they don't try to like, cure or get rid of the other personality. What I've learned from them is like they try to, because that's just them. This is a part of them. It's nothing to get rid of. Of course, we didn't know that at the time. During the 90s, we always thought like, oh, this is like a bad idea. People shouldn't have two or more personalities kind of thing. But we learned over time that it's like more so them now. And it's nothing to necessarily cure. We just, they just like try to get the personalities to live kind of like in a harmonious way. Because there's just as much a right to be here as much as them kind of situation. But the psychologist here in this, episode who uses kind of hypnotism to snap Big Bad Harv to the forefront, and he doesn't like the idea of the thought of her trying to get rid of him. And I just can't help but think about like what other therapists said in recent years, ever since like the movie Split. It's like, no, they really should not be trying to get rid of him. As you should stop calling him Big Bad Harv, but it's just like that part of Harvey is manifested. It's part of him now, so you gotta get them to trying to live in some kind of harmonious way. So he kind of flips out and nearly attacks the therapist, and she snaps him out of it. So he freaks out. He's on his campaign trail. He's about to get engaged to this new girl who only shows up in this like two-parter, honestly. And people are kind of like worried or freak out, or are a little worried about Harvey, at least especially people closest to him, about his like, temper. And I love the little animation where, the therapist is trying to get the Big Bad Harv out. There's a lightning strike, and as soon as the light flashes, you see like the foreshadowing of his look, which, if you think about it, it's like we don't know what he was going at the time. We don't know what he's going to look like. We know he's going to be Two-Faced, but you know how in this interpretation, what is that size going to look like yet? And that little flash, I don't know. It's just like you don't know, but I don't know. Like I don't know how to like how I would have done it, but it seems like okay, I know you're in the know and what you're going to design this Two-Faced persona to be, but right now he's just Big Bad Harv. You don't know what that side's going to look like just yet, or at least the audience won't know. You kind of like spoiling it in a way, but it's a cool shot, not going to lie. But Rupert Thorne and his little female assistant, I forgot her name, ends up finding or getting their hands on the therapist's records or notes, and threaten to bribe Harvey about putting this information out if he doesn't work for them. Of course, this causes Big Bad Harv to come out. He tries to chase after Rupert Thorne, who's bribing him, but Batman trying to chase after them. They're in some kind of factory facility. In most of the interpretations, the Harvey's side gets scarred up because some gangster threw acid in his face in the courtroom. That's typical in how like that origin story happened. Here is the only interpretation of how it happens, where an explosion happens in this factory and it kind of blew off, half of Harvey's face. And you get that line from Batman, Harvey, no. It's a powerful no, I ain't gonna lie. That still stuck with me after all these years. And it just kills me to this day, man. I can't believe I never got a chance to meet Kevin Conroy. God, this dude is like legit, like, was the Batman. Now that he's gone, I think like Michael Keaton is like got the title technically now in terms of being like the guy for Batman at this point. Uh, so I regret never meeting Kevin Conroy. God, he seems like just a delight. Uh, and if God willing, if Tara Strong shows up again at C2E2 next year, she did this past time, but I went to go see Dan Green, one of my voice actor idols, but she's also up there as my idols, and you I couldn't afford to go to see both of them, but next year she's gonna be, if she's there, hopefully, I will definitely go and see her as like go meet her, because she's the sweetest and she is awesome. Like I love Tara Strong. She is just amazing all around. Anyway, so some time passed, not too much, but now Two-Face is established. He got himself his own little gang. He's hitting Rupert Thorne's businesses, all with the theme of twos to their names, like the Gemini Bank or the Two of Clubs, something like that. And he's trying to hit Rupert Thorne's pockets. And then before he goes after Thorne himself, but all the while Grace, that's the girl's name. He's still thinking about Grace because he really cared about her, and she still cared about him despite everything. As she's trying to go meet him, Rupert Thorne shows up, but Batman shows up as well, and they, team up to stop Thorne and his cronies. But then once Two-Face got Thorne in his crosshairs, he's got a kind of coin. He's flipping heads or tails because now it's like he's so split at this point where he cannot make any decision without flipping that coin. So, which Batman Forever kind of ape off this episode, honestly. He, Batman tosses like a tray full of coins as Harvey's coins flipping. So now he can't find his coins, so he can't make a decision. He's freaking out. So, the day is bitterly saved. It's bittersweet. Harvey is, arrested. But it's a sad ending to like the Gotham's White Knight. And of course you get the other episodes, Never Too Late, where where Batman tries to get this mob boss Strongwell, to give up information to the cops, stop his drug dealings, and utilizing this priest that was a friend of Strongwell's as their childhood. And it's like, just using his compassion and bringing certain people that Strongwell knows in his personal life together, just to hit home that your drugs hurts a lot of people, including your own son. And you see his son laying up in a bed, and it's just like a awesome moment where Batman didn't have to use his fist outside of stopping Rupert Thorne's cronies from instigating a gang fight with Strongwell. And Strongwell, thanks to his friend, is convinced to give up his criminal activity and giving up all information that he knows to the cops. So there's what we want to see from Batman, where it's like, yeah, he makes some success stories here. He legit put an end to some criminality, or at least taking out a criminal empire via words and not fist. So it was an awesome episode, which as a kid I didn't really appreciate, but as I got older, it's like, this is a solid story here. Of course, you get the awesome episode of Heart of Ice with Ferris Boyle causing Dr. Freeze turned to Mr. Freeze, and of course refusing to let Freeze save his terminally ill wife, which I know people give Arnold Schwarzenegger and Joel Schumacher crap over Batman and Robin, but honestly, there's some. Looking back on it, it was fun. Not like what we imagine what Mr. Freeze should be, but it was still kind of fun. Ice puns and all. And it's not like, Schumacher was the only one that made ice puns. In the show, this interpretation of Mr. Freeze makes ice puns too. So it's not like it was only exclusive to the movie. So we should, I'm glad we kind of looked back on Joel Schumacher and kind of gave him his flowers before he passed away. And it's like, we kind of, just like with George Lucas with like the prequels, or no, I won't say George Lucas, but like certain actors like Hayden Christensen, we gave, certain people grief, and Sam Raimi, as a matter of fact, we gave certain people a lot of grief on certain things that they done in certain movies where we know it wasn't their fault. It was either the studios or the directors or the writers to give them kind of bad material at that time. Same way, like, with Raimi with like, Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man 3, with forcing Venom onto his hands where he did not want to use Venom. So we looking back, it's like, yeah, this kind of messed up. We kind of put the blame on the wrong people. And over time, we gave them their flowers and understood and gave them a second chance, and they blew us out of the water with certain things like the Batman in Matt Reeves' Batman with Robert Pattinson. He done a stellar job. Hayden Christensen done a stellar job as Anakin Skywalker and gotten his flowers. Sam Raimi with the Multiverse of Madness. I don't care what anybody says. That movie is really good. I really enjoyed it. Honestly, if I got like a favorite horror movie, that one's probably like my favorite horror movie I've ever seen. But you catch my drift. So I always thought, after watching this episode again, if I was ever to write a Batman comic, I want to do like a particular event where certain Batman roles are getting hunted down, or or at least captured or something by a mysterious organization or something like that, and it turns out to be people that end up turning them into those villains in the first place because they want to exact their revenge on them, and it becomes like a vicious cycle. Now they want to get their revenge on them, like Francis Boyle going after Freeze, like, oh, like, you ruined me all because of your sickly little wife, so now I'm going to take her out right in front of your eyes. And then also with like teaming up with like Mockridge with the Riddler, and it's like, oh, you made me live through fear, constant fear of you showing up because you put me through those death traps and stuff. So now I'm gonna put you through some death traps because you sick little, so and so. And like, that's what I want to do. Like, like a Batman arc, dealing with something like that, where these people that have like animosity towards certain villains that, for the most part, is their fault. They turn to villains in the first place because of their greed or whatever. And now they're kind of like a vicious cycle. So now they want to get their get back, essentially. That's something I always thought about in terms of if I want to make a Batman story. That would be something I want to do, because that seemed like a very interesting story, and it's trademarked. That was my idea, so anybody dare to try to steal it, it's come from me. So this is on record now. But I always thought that would be very interesting of a story. So Boyle is getting this humanitarian award, even though he's like a complete a-hole. But then, like, when Batman figures out what happened, he just like feels really horrible. This dude's just wanting to save his wife, and this guy just causes horror show. This supposed humanitarian, but thanks to Batman stealing the file and giving it to Summer Gleason, now that Boyle's essentially ruined. But Heart of Ice is amazing, and it's like, a heartbroken Batman, he still has to turn this guy in, but it's not something he really wants to do, because none of it was his fault. But he still cause like, harm to people in the process in his pursuit of revenge against Boyle. But Heart of Ice is amazing. The Cat and the Claw 2-parter with Bruce first meeting with Selena Kyle, which I forgot she was blonde here. And I guess because outside of Batman Returns and this show, Selena Kyle's always had like raven colored hair. I'm not sure at what point they changed that. Maybe because she just looked better with like black hair. But it's just like this episode. I'm not sure if I'm pretty sure the movie took inspiration off of this version of Selena Kyle because Michelle Pfeiffer is blonde, so they just went with the blonde look with Selena Kyle, and it's kind of like, wow, I completely forgot she had like blonde hair for a moment, and I'm not sure they just changed that up because yeah, she doesn't look good as a blonde, at least in this show. Michelle Pfeiffer is different because that's just her hair, but I let it slide on that one. But yeah, Catwoman for the most part has to have black hair. It just has to be. I'm sorry, it just doesn't look right any other color. But as you're going after this other terrorist group with like Red Claw, and of course Selena Kyle is a animal rights activist, not like those crazy ones in real world today, but where she knows where she's needed in the right place, and she, as Catwoman, she of course steals, and that's how she gained her fortune. But she utilized most of that to for animal rights, more specifically feline animals. And of course, she and Bruce meets up at this kind of a auction for charity kind of thing, and he's immediately smitten with her. Of course, he eventually finds out that she is Catwoman, but they team up to stop Red Claw from releasing this bio weapon and to threaten the city for money. So that was fun. I mean, it's probably one of those because not many Catwoman episodes that I really like. This one is actually the one that stood out to me as like the one I actually do dig, and maybe one other one, but all the other ones I really care for, where she turns into like an actual cat. That one was not fun for me. We get this episode "See No Evil," where this dude Lloyd Ventress using this con artist who uses invisible suit to try to see his daughter Kimberly, even though he has a restraining order against him by his ex-wife, because he is into this whole criminal activity and stuff like that. I can't help but think about that 2020 movie, The Invisible Man, where this dude who's clearly, if you played it, he could be that same guy who's like possibly abusive to the wife in some aspects, but he comes back and is like, I actually love you. Don't we can make this work kind of thing. And of course, thanks to Batman, who stops him because he pretended like to be Kimberly's little imaginary friend. But when she realized, oh, it's actually Daddy, I'm not supposed to talk to you. And he tries to kidnaps the daughter anyway. But Batman stops this guy. Finally, but it was like an awesome episode. Then you got Beware the Great Ghost with Adam West. That was really good. Which, because he was Batman, but he's playing this character called the Great Ghost, who's very Batman-like. So it's just fun to have Adam West and Kevin Conroy, two iconic Batman, in a single episode. It's fun. And it wouldn't be the first time with Adam West. I'm pretty sure he showed up in Brave and the Bold with I forgot the actor's name who voiced Batman in that, have like a moment of in a particular episode together as well. Feet of Clay, God, with Matt Hagen, who's this impressive actor who is kind of like a junkie, thanks to Roland Daggett, who created this kind of you know facial cream that becomes addictive. So now, because Matt Hagen got his face messed up, some kind of accident on set. So now his obsession with trying to get, because he loves being an actor, he needs to get back on set. His face is everything. So now he's obsessed with this cream, and he does these little robberies for Daggett in order to gain more cream. But now he becomes a liability because of his addiction, thanks to Roland Daggett. And it's like a horrific scene where his goons dumped a bunch of that stuff on him, and it turns him into Clayface. Uh, uh, so now, as Clayface, he's hunting down Daggett and his goons, and of course, this is unprecedented to Bruce, because he didn't have to deal with something like this before. With this like legit superpowers he's dealing with, at least morphing capabilities, and Ron Perlman acted the hell out of this. So now he had to save Daggett from this guy, but realizing he it takes a lot out of him doing all this shape shifting, so he gets all these little images of his other roles in his little media room, and his body automatically tries to morph into it, and so it's kind of like he can't control it. And of course, he's also, because of earlier in the episode trying to steal from Lucius Fox under the guise of Bruce Wayne, Lucius thinks like, oh, Bruce Wayne try to hurt me, so now Bruce Wayne is like public enemy number one kind of thing. And then this dude stupidly try to sneak into the hospital to talk to Lucius to convince him, at least trying to get some answers. Like, I didn't really try to, you got to believe me, I would never hurt you. And now he's getting caught in the hospital room. So now he's getting arrested thinking like he's trying to finish the job or something. And it's like, dude, why would you do that? That is very stupid. But of course, Clayface, didn't really die because the cops see him morph into Bruce Wayne and kind of exonerate him, which I thought it was kind of a easy fix for the situation. It's not a big deal, but it's kind of like, man, that was kind of easy. It's like to clear his name. But I honestly don't know how else would you could do it to wrap up that narrative. But he seemingly executed and turned to like a hard shell and dust, but it turns out electricity wasn't affecting the clay, and of course it was all an act. And Bruce kind of picks up on, he said it calls like this greatest like death scene. He called it a scene, so he's probably still out there. We got the Clock King, that episode. Now, this is probably the only episode I thought Mayor Hamilton Hill stood out to the most to me, where he's literally riding on the train, even though he wasn't mayor yet at this time. He was running, so he's taking the train, and he meets up with a co-writer who he's seen from time to time, and he's trying to give this guy some advice because Temple Fugit is kind of literally wound up so tight, and it's like everything, he's got everything down time to like the moment where it's supposed to happen kind of thing. It's like, like down to the second kind of situation. And uh, Hill is trying to explain to him, like, dude, you gotta ease up. You know, why don't you get off your schedule for a little while, just a little bit? Because if you go to court and the judge sees you so wound so tight, he's gonna think something's up. Relax. You know, whenever you take your break, get off your little schedule, just go out to the park, drink your coffee there, and just enjoy the scenery. Just take a breather. And of course, everything, of course, goes wrong. He loses paperwork and spills his coffee all over himself, and he's running late because he's trying to catch all the paperwork he can. And then he shows up all disheveled, and just like a moment of just pure snap. And the judge is like, you're just so irresponsible. It was like, case dismissed, kind of thing. And it just turns to the camera like, just freaks out. I was like, oh my God, this dude snapped. But anyway, we see him come back as, sometime later, and he's synchronized. He controls like the traffic lights to trap Mayor Hill, to embarrass him, to humiliate him, because like, you made me late. And like, that's part of the fun with some of these Batman rogues, because by and large they get caught up in their obsessions, or just outright greed or psychosis. And it always seems trivial than others, like him being late, but that's just his thing. It's like I know what time things supposed to happen. That was my thing, and you screwed it up and made me lose everything because I took your stupid advice. But Batman ends up stopping him. Seemingly he died, ironically, in this clock tower. But that was like a fun episode. I really liked that episode. Got Mad Hatter, another one, and honestly had like the most powerful ending, and it was because of the music, how somber it is. But another person who's obsessed with this girl named Alice, who made these kind of like scientific kind of cards. It's like these like mind control devices that somehow was supposed to help with Wayne Tech stuff. But he's lonely. He sees Alice as like a soulmate of his, but she's with a guy. He goes out one day with her. Everything seems to go well, but he uses his mind control devices to try to pretend to have a perfect night. But Batman gets on his tail and then leads him on a chase to this kind of fairgrounds that reminiscent to the Alice in Wonderland story. But thanks to Alice's boyfriend, he manages to stop all the mind control people and stop Jervis Tetch. And it's just like, she, as a down Jervis looks on in sadness to see Alice just embrace the guy she really cares about. And he just hears that line, "Oh, would not, could not, would not, could not." And then just like it pans over to this crying rabbit as the scene fades to black, and that last little melon, like that sad tone. I don't know why that always stuck with me, and I feel this probably like I feel so bad for Jervis at that moment. It was like man, I feel bad, even though he was like kind of like an obsessive, harassing dude. It was something that always like like I feel bad. Like he just wanted love. He was lonely, and he thought he found a soulmate, but it wasn't like a thing. Uh, we're gonna skip on a couple of things. Of course, you got the Perhance the Dream, another Jervis Tetch story where he's trying to give Batman a perfect life so he can stay out of his life. But of course, Batman come to realize this because of this episode. A lot of people, for the longest time, assumed that, oh, we know it's a dream because we can't read in dreams. But that's not true. You can read in dreams. That's all been like a fallacy thanks to this episode. But that was like a thing for the longest time, because they, the writers in the show do a good job in taking some scientific stuff and kind of bending it just enough to where it's like, I can buy that a bit kind of thing. And that's a mark of a great writer, which we sorely are lacking in this day and age. And of course, it's like, only way he got out of that dream is because, I'll just, throw myself off this building. You don't know what's going to happen. Then I'll see you in my nightmares. And he just did it. Like, oh my God. But he stops, Jervis Tetch in that situation. It's one of the best episodes. A lot of people really, really stuck with them. And of course, another one, a two-parter with Robin's Reckoning, where he goes after Tony Zuko, who was the man responsible for the murder of the Graysons. And of course, Batman trying to keep Robin out of this because he knows that he's too close to it and he might end up killing this man. But, Robin, stops himself in the nick of time. But it was like a powerful Robin story, one of the best Robin stories ever, in my opinion. It's like, Primetime Emmy Award. It won the Primetime Emmy Award in 1993 for Outstanding Animated Program. Programming less than 1 hour. So that's how, stellar the writing and the performance was in this two-parter. Underrated episodes, the whole Night of the Ninja and what was it? Day of the Samurai, where we get this a ninja that Batman had to stop that used to be a fellow student to Bruce's mentor, to their sensei. But Kurodai, was like a dishonorable thief, so he was kicked out, and Kurodai trying to seek revenge against Bruce Wayne, but he ended up stopping him thanks to Robin. But he comes back after kidnapping one of the sensei's daughters or granddaughters, something like that. But after instilling like this pressure point move that will cause death, and of course, thanks to Bruce's quick thinking, he put this kind of metal sheet in between his chest and the costume, so it kind of absorbed most of the blows, so he managed to survive. But Kurodai ended up, succumbing himself to like this active volcano where they was fighting on top of. But it's like a underrated episodes. I really like those episodes. We got the Heart of Steel with Hardak. I'm jumping all over the place. This is like, it's gonna be a long kind of reviews. Was very like akin to like, Terminator, Skynet meets with Blade Runner, where Hardak is replacing people with robots. And this is the first moment we see where Barbara Gordon, who knows that something's up because her father's not acting like himself, and they end up stopping Hardak uh, uh, and his robots, but not before in like Silicon Soul, where before Hardak was destroyed, he managed to make a robot version of Bruce Wayne Batman to try to like continue on his plan on replacing people, but thanks to Hardak making that Bruce Wayne such alike, where even adopts his no kill role when that robot Batman thinks he actually killed Bruce Wayne, he lost it and kind of self destructs in a way. But of course, Batman didn't really die. But that's probably the only way to actually stop him. But it was like the awesome two-parter, and also a great epilogue to that story. Then one of my personal favorites, If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich? With the first introduction to Edward Nygma. And of course, he was the one who created the riddle of the Minotaur for his employer, Daniel Mockridge, because, you know, he sues him for the rights to the royalties, but because Enigma signs this kind of goofy contract, which, smart as he is, should have like checked the fine print and everything like that, but he got screwed. So he comes back as the Riddler to get his revenge. But honestly, the entire episode so much fun, as well as his return in and What Is Reality, where he's trying to get rid of his files because thanks to Batman ruining his name, he's going to get rid of anything tied to Edward Nygma. So all he will be was just the Riddler. But that was a great episode too. Got I Am the Knight, where, like I said, Bruce, losing faith after Jim gets hurt by this crook called the Jazz Man, and he blames himself, despite Alfred and Robin trying to assure him that you do more for the city than anybody expects, Bruce. So you can't blame yourself. He's a cop. He knows what the job is. But he manages to pull through because it's very somber. You get to see like some introspection from Batman, where it's like, I'm not even sure if I'm doing anything, doing any good, but thanks to Jim kind of reassuring him, like, he's like, we gotta keep fighting, never give up. But it was like an awesome episode. With that, we got Birds of a Feather with a seemingly rehabilitated Penguin, but because these high society a-holes like Veronica Vreeland, who try to pretend like she's infatuated with Penguin, but only just messing with him just because they're bored. But all Penguin wanted was some companionship and love, but realizing that they're just messing with him, he goes back to his old ways, which you feel bad for him. It was like, because these rich a-holes would just not like leave well enough alone, or at least indulge them their little sick games into something else. You mess around with a known criminal, and you didn't think there was going to be any kind of repercussions. I got an awesome episode with Zatanna. Like I said, learning about how Batman learns his skills as escapologist. And of course, they're kind of like a potential budding relationship between Zatanna and a young Bruce. But their paths went completely different. And I don't even think she actually knew that he and Bruce are the same person. We get like a moment where Harley and Ivy do their Thelma and Louise thing, Which, by the way, as much as people have been like shipping Harley and Ivy together in the past like 10 years, Bruce Timm, from what I've saw from records and videos and stuff like that, he tends to like, from what I understand, you know, uh, uh, what's the phrase? Get along to get along, something like that, where he didn't tend for them to be together. But then he goes like, oh well, they have something on. But then he backtracks and it's like, no, they're just friends. But now in like, it's not like a big deal. I think people like think it's okay for Harley and Ivy to be together, to be in a relationship with each other. But I think they kind of overdid it, in my opinion, to the point where it's like they just practically drooling all over each other, and like getting kind of explicit sometimes. And I think I attribute that to they don't even know what to do with Harley half the time. Even in recent years, she's just like a revamped Deadpool in a way, where she, in certain comics, he breaks the fourth wall, and it's like, I don't know about that. Like, you're trying hard to give her own thing, and she already had her own thing since Mad Love. Just a criminal that is reformed and now is like an anti-hero. You don't need to give her like a Deadpool persona, in my opinion. But I like that Thelma and Louise thing, and stick to Ivy's little eco-terrorist thing. But you gotta ease up with the whole obsessed romance with each other. Like, people in the being a couples, even like same-sex couples, the whole lovey-dovey swooning over each other, that should dissipate after a while. And I think at this point, we get it. You're in love with each other. Let's just like tone it down a bit. The honeymoon phase should be over at this point. Then you get Demon's Quest. And I will end the video with this, with the return of Ra's al Ghul after the events of meeting Talia al Ghul, trying to team up with him to stop Count Vertigo. Which, by the way, one of the ways he stops his little trap by having Talia trust him as he walks her through all these death traps, but come to realize he was to counteract the vertigo. He kept his eyes closed the entire time, which she just like, you did what? It's like that's one way to do it. But I call Cap. I was like, Batman is awesome, but sometimes they play him way too superhuman than he needs to be. But they make their return because Robin and Talia is kidnapped by these mysterious groups. Ra's al Ghul shows up in the Batcave, knowing that Bruce Wayne and Batman are the same person. And then they work together, globetrotting, to try to figure out where these two are. Batman quickly realized the curvature of the daggers in the photograph held up against Robin and Talia comes from a particular area in India. So they go there, they get ambushed by people. Eventually, Batman realizes, after he finds Robin, it's like, the only other person who's capable of this is Ra's al Ghul, because, how these guys who ambush us know exactly where we are unless you told them. Of course, we come to learn that Ra's al Ghul is centuries old thanks to the Lazarus Pits, but now he's reaching his end. But he saw something in Bruce as a potential heir to marry his daughter. But of course, because Ra's is also like an eco-terrorist in a way, but on like a larger scale than even Poison Ivy, where he sees like humanity, is a blight on this world. We need to. He takes Batman's justice way too far, and to the point where he's like okay with neutralizing most of the population of the world, very Thanos like. Uh, but Robin and Batman go to put a stop to his machinations uh, by causing an eruption towards within other Lazarus pits around the world, because with a chain reaction will cause like utter devastation to multiple cities that will cause countless of deaths. He even calculated the number of deaths that will be down to the digit, and I was like, yeah, you really don't care if he did the research of that number. And to allow like nature to retake the area so they can, so the earth can like heal itself essentially. But Batman stops Ra's al Ghul. He falls into a pit. And of course, he crawls right out because ever since Batman Begins, I swear, because I know Ra's al Ghul, I know Batman comics. I told many family members and friends, like, this dude's not dead. Trust me when I say this. I've seen Batman stuff before. I know this character. This dude is straight up not dead. And I argue in Batman Dark Knight Rises that hallucination of Ra's al Ghul, I to this day claim he was really there, and Batman was still kind of out of it and thought it was a hallucination. But this dude was probably alive somewhere. If this story would have continued on, I will guarantee you that this dude was still alive. Just use those Lazarus pits. He always comes back. But yeah, that's pretty much all the episodes that I really want to cover. There was a lot, so I covered as much as I could and talked about the stuff that I didn't care for. But in the next season that I'll cover, whenever I get that done, now that I can skip over all the actors and the behind the scenes stuff, I can go right into the episodes to, cut to the chase. But let me know in the comments below which episodes of Batman the Animated Series do you like, because I miss these kind of like one-off or two-off episode stories. Just like short little adventures that we don't get much in TV shows that much, because they always got to have some kind of overarching story, which for the most part is fun if the story lends itself to that. But every once in a while, I do miss those short one-episode adventures, short, sweet, to the point. Those are like sorely missed in sitcoms and shows. But anyway, let me know which episodes of that Batman animated series was your favorite. Which one was your least favorite? Let me know which character was your favorite. And is there like a controversial take you have on Batman the Animated Series as a whole? I know people have at least one or two. And drop it in the comments below. But I will see you guys. Do I have time? Yeah, I can squeeze in some time to do another movie review. Should be fairly quick. But I will see you guys next time for another review. But anyway, take care, and I'll see you all soon. Peace.